Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast.
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. There's all dog around this mug. I'm good.
Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, Timothy J. Jones. And yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. Shouts out to everybody in the chat. Shouts out to everybody listening, no matter where you are, wherever you may be. Want to give a special shout out to all those that checked out the NFC South Roundtable on Tuesday night. We had a really good time. Definitely had more views than we had since we started that show. So I want to give a special shout out to you. Seeing a lot of familiar names inside of the chat going hard, representing for the black and gold and representing yours truly in that regard. So I just want to say thank you. And if you have not checked out the NFC South Roundtable, it's available right now on YouTube. It is fastly growing into something very, very special over there on that channel, and I'm very privileged to be a part of that. So make sure you subscribe to the NFC South Roundtable channel. This show, the State of the Saints podcast, is powered by BETUS. Sign up today and get up to 150% on your first 3 deposits, up to $2,000 right now. So all you have to do is use the promo code YouTube150. That's YouTube150. But let's go ahead and get into it. The topics that we're going to be discussing here on the State of the Saints, we're going to be talking a little bit about Hurricane Francine. Of course, we know that Hurricane Francine should be hitting landfall. It is in the Gulf, should be hitting landfall in Louisiana area really, really soon. And of course, you know, anytime that happens, it affects the New Orleans Saints. So of course, they're making preparation for that. We're going to be talking a little bit about that. And also, you know, the new system for Derek Carr and, you know, his thoughts on the new system and what's asked of him in this new system, what is asked of him in this new system, I should say. And we're also going to be talking a little bit about the Saints actually turning skeptics into believers here if they can get the victory over a very formidable team in the Dallas Cowboys. But I want to go to the chat and give a special shout out to everybody in here. Special shout out. Let me go ahead and stroll up, call out a few names here. Who Dat Records, Brian, my mom is here. Shouts out to you, Mom. Daniel, Jerry is here. Nola Gang, Be Great, Josh, Keen Arthur, Chemo, and Ray is here. OG Sean, Darrell, Charlie, Leon, Snakebit, Black Major, Ernest, Paul, Dana, Charles. Your lunch is ready. I couldn't resist. EJ Praise. Godson is in here. Matthew, Leon, And I think I pretty much said everybody. Patrick, thank you. And Justin, shouts out to you, man. Shouts out to all the truck drivers out there as well. Texas Saint just filed in. Man, also 105 of you watching this on several platforms. I ask that you hit the like button. Help the State of the Saints podcast grow. Help a brother out. Help a brother out. But let's go ahead and get into it, man. Talk a little bit about the New Orleans Saints, of course. Before we get started, I got to mention this. The Saints injury report. There were a few names on the list that did not practice today, but we're going to go over who practiced first. Okay, full participation was Jamal Williams, who's dealing with a shoulder injury. Rashid Shaheed has a finger injury. Nick Saldiveri has a calf injury, and A.T. Perry with a hand, but they were full participants at practice on Wednesday. Limited practice, Foster Monroe, who had a concussion in the game. Dallin Holker, everybody's favorite new tight end. He had a limited practice, so should be interesting to see if he can actually play this weekend. See if Hulkamania can run wild on Sunday. Tallahassee Fuaga with a back injury, limited, but he's been dealing with that back injury. That was the reason why he missed one of those preseason games. And also rookie Jalen Ford with a hamstring. He was limited. But those that did not practice, Colin Saunders, which is a surprise to nobody, should be out for a while. He's dealing with a calf injury. Lucas Patrick did not practice. He has a toe injury, and he is the starting left guard for the New Orleans Saints right now. The Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu, had a heel injury, which the Saints took him out of the game early. Was no need for him to get back into the game after the lead was pretty much insurmountable, but he did not practice. Marshawn Lattimore dealing with a hip and a hamstring injury. Of course, we've seen that he dealt with that. He had to leave the game. Once again, one of those injuries that happened late. No need to try to put him back out there. And also DeMarco Jackson with a calf injury. He's been dealing with that. He's more of a special teams player. But that is the Saints injury report. I'm interested to see if Lucas Patrick is going to play. If not, we probably will see for the very first time Nick Saldiveri, which originally that was the Saints' plan, to have Nick Saldiveri as the starting left guard. So if Lucas Patrick can't play, then we're probably going to see Nick Saldiveri for the very first time. Also, once again, Dallin Holker finally is practicing. We know that the Saints have big plans for him. And, the guys that didn't practice that we have to keep an eye on is Tyrann Mathieu and Marshawn Lattimore, because the Saints are going up against a very formidable team in the Dallas Cowboys, and you need all hands on deck if you're going to win that football game, no doubt about that. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Derek Carr. Derek Carr was pretty efficient. He was 19 of 23 for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns in the very first game versus the Carolina Panthers. You know, a lot of people had their reservations about Derek Carr, and some of them, they still do. But Derek Carr is very focused and dialed in and trying to do the best that he possibly can to generate some success from the quarterback position for the black and gold. And, of course, this is a new system that he's dealing with, he's working with right now. Of course, we know there's different moving parts, but he is embracing it. And he's also understanding that the Saints are asking something very, very differently of him, or very, very different of him in this regard, where he's not the guy that's normally throwing, he goes from the guy that's throwing the football all over the place. The team is basically put on his back every single week. But now it's a little bit different now that he's in this new offense.
Yeah. I just, I mean, it's just, it's a different system, and so it's only my first real game doing it. Yeah, we felt it's just what's asked of me is just different than what I was used to in my career. And so it was fun. I had a great time. Obviously, we won the game, and all those things are good. But again, it's just one game, and we got to play them again down the road, and we got one especially this week. And so, but yeah, it felt good. I felt confident. A lot of hard work paying off. But now we got to go do it again, and try and do it again this week.
So Derek Carr understands what the Saints are asking of him, and it's different. And, I've been saying this, and I said it quite often here on the State of the Saints podcast. I'm not really expecting Derek Carr to go out there and throw for 300 yards, throw the ball 30, 35 times a game. I don't think that the New Orleans Saints can have continual success with Derek Carr playing a quarterback position that way. I think that Derek Carr is a complimentary guy. I think that if you have a running game, I feel like if you have a good defense, then Derek Carr can go out there and facilitate. I don't need Derek Carr to be out there throwing the ball 40 times. I think that the Saints understand that, and I think they understand that you got to put pieces around him. And I think what we've seen this past Sunday is, just a sample size of what could possibly happen if the Saints utilize Derek Carr this way. Derek Carr can win you a football game. I don't have a problem with saying that. I have a problem with Derek Carr winning you continuous football games over and over and over again, week after week. Like this isn't a Drew Brees situation. This isn't a Tom Brady situation. This isn't one of those situations like that. This is a situation where you have a guy, to me, is a little bit above average. And, if you put other things around him, like a Alvin Kamara, like a Rashid Shaheed and a Chris Olave and a Taysom Hill as a Swiss Army, you can generate offensive success. And if you're down, he can, give you a chance to actually come back into the game. I think that, but you don't want to have him out there trying to do that every single week. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that sometimes we feel like if a guy is not that the focal point, like Patrick Mahomes is, like Josh Allen versus the Arizona Cardinals this past weekend, like he had to put the Buffalo Bills on his back in order for them to generate that comeback versus Arizona. Everybody can't do that, and that's fine. You still can have a really good career at being the stable quarterback, having pieces around you. Like we're seeing this happen in San Francisco with Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is not the quarterback that is going to put a team on his back. But if you put a Christian McCaffrey, a Deebo Samuel, a George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk around him, he can get them the ball and they can do the rest. And, I think that Derek Carr would thrive in this type of offense. So, it's not asking much of him. Offensive line, you're not asking too much of them to try to go out there and pass protect almost every play. I think it's a match made in heaven. I think that, with this new system, people will have a different perspective or could possibly learn to have a different perspective about Derek Carr if it all comes together. Now, we only seen this 1 week, and I agree with what Derek said. We only seen this for 1 week. We don't know what this is going to look like for the rest of the season. And, I think that when we look at the New Orleans Saints and, the debate is, who are the New Orleans Saints? Are they that team that scored 47 points? Or is it, they're a team that just took advantage of a struggling Carolina Panthers team? I feel like it's somewhere in between. I feel like they improved offensively, and I've always thought they had a really good defense. So you combine the two, you got yourself a little bit of a better team than you had last year. But, these are the type of games that people are going to look at you and say, I think the Saints are turning the corner. It wasn't that game versus Carolina, and in some ways it's fair, right? I mean, I'm not going to sit up here and whine and complain about a loss a win, because no matter who you're playing against, winning is hard in the National Football League. So the fact that the Saints won, I'm not going to apologize for that. But at the same time, if you want the NFL, if you want people to take you serious, you got to go out here and beat a team like the Dallas Cowboys at AT&T Stadium. And I think that people will look at you a little bit differently. Let me read some of the comments before we get into the next soundbite. It's talking about the offensive line, Derek Carr giving props to the offensive line. But let me read a few of your comments and then we'll get back into it. He said, and what's the Dallas injury report? The Dallas injury report, they had Zach Martin. He had a veteran's rest. DeMarcus Lawrence had a veteran rest. Eric Kendricks had a veteran rest. Brandon Cooks also had a veteran rest. CJ Goodwin, he had a foot injury, but all these guys were limited, right? I mean, they didn't practice long. They practiced on a limited basis. Who didn't practice with John Stevens, Jake Ferguson, the tight end, and Marshawn Nealon had a calf injury. So not too many significant names. And like I said, those guys that they that were out there limited. I mean, they are going to play this Sunday. I mean, you've been in the league for quite some time. You don't have to practice as much, and you earn the right to have a veteran day where you don't have to go, full throttle. So that's their injury report. They're relatively healthy, if that's what if you want to know that. It says, what's up with Kendra? Well, Kendra is on IR, so he can't play until week 5. Right. So when you get on the injury, the IR, the season IR list, that means that you have to miss at least 4 weeks. So he's going to be out for at least 4 weeks. So he'll be activated or have an opportunity to be activated in week 5 if the Saints decide to go that route. He was on No Cap on Tuesday. Let's see. I'm not sure exactly who we're talking about. Says TJ, if these Saints want to show people they're serious, they have to beat 2 out of the 3, the Chiefs, Dallas, and Philly. Yeah, I mean, you gotta, if you want people to take you serious, you gotta beat one of these teams, because each one of these teams are contenders. The Philadelphia Eagles, they had their issues. They lost 6 out of the last 7 games down the stretch, but they did win like 10 straight games or something like that, like something crazy. So that's a good football team over there, and I think that they are better. I think that I think Kellen Moore being a new addition to the offense may help them. The addition of Saquon Barkley, I feel like, helps them as well. So you got to be able to be ready for that game. That's a home game for you. You got to take advantage of the home field advantage there. We know what the Dome is like when the team is winning, when they get themselves a lead. I was actually there firsthand on Sunday, so I experienced that when the Saints basically steamrolled the Carolina Panthers. I mean, the crowd was crazy. So if you can get the crowd involved, if you can get the crowd excited about your play, I mean, it works in your advantage. Now, this is going to be tough versus the Dallas Cowboys. I want to say last year the Dallas Cowboys put up like 30 points at home. So they got a lot of firepower, man. So the Saints are going to have to be prepared, and they're going to have to play virtually flawless if they're going to win this football game, because the Dallas Cowboys, they can take advantage of opportunities. For example, let's just say, you turn the ball over, but your defense forces a 3 and out. I mean, they got a really good field goal kicker that can kick the ball 70 yards. I think the guy kicked a 66-yard field goal and he made it, but it was called back because of a flag. Like that guy has a leg on him. So, they can take advantage of all type of situations. Special teams, they got Turpin out there. He's one of the best return men in the game. I mean, he returned a kick for a touchdown last week. So, I mean, they got their own little version of Rashid Shaheed out there. You got Brandon Cooks. That's their Chris Olave. So you got some guys that can make some plays, and, they can also run the football as well. And defensively, they're really, really stout. But don't take my word for it. Here's Dennis Allen breaking it down and what the Dallas Cowboys do best.
Look, I think this is going to be a really, really good challenge for us. I think this is one that, we're going to embrace this challenge. We're looking forward to going up to Dallas and having a chance to play against a really good football team, an extremely well-coached football team, a team that's won a lot of games over the last few years. I think they're really good in all 3 phases. On special teams, they've got a really good scheme. They've got a really good returner. They do a good job with their specialist. Obviously, their field goal kicker's got an extremely strong leg, so that becomes a weapon. The punter can put the ball where he needs to. He can directional kick it. He's got a strong leg, and they do a good job of covering. So they're really good on special teams, on defense. I think Mike Zimmer is one of the better defensive minds in our game. He's always done a really good job. He's got some good players. They're good on all 3 levels. Probably get after the quarterback as good as anybody in our league. Micah Parsons, I think, is a dominant player regardless of position. one of, if not the best defensive player in our league. So he's a guy that we're going to have to pay attention to, understand where he's at. Obviously, Kendricks, as the Mike linebacker, he runs the show. He's been in Zimmer's defense, so they do a good job. They play sound. They play with good fundamentals. They take the ball away in the back end. Tough challenge there. Offensively, they're one of the higher scoring teams in our league over the last few years. Quarterback's playing really well. CeeDee Lamb is a heck of a receiver. Brandon Cooks. I think their offensive line, they've always built their team, offensively to start with the offensive line. I think they do a good job. They got Ezekiel Elliott back, in terms of run game. So they just got a lot of weapons. They do a lot of really good things. They're well coached. They play really, really well at home. And so it's a great opportunity for us.
So he pretty much broke it down. I mean, they don't really have too many flaws, like they got playmakers on every level. Offensive line is good, quarterback good, regardless of what you think about Dak Prescott, he can win football games. But the reality is, the Dallas Cowboys aren't world beaters. I look at the game last week. I went back and I took a look at it. I mean, the offense wasn't really that impressive. They just did some things, defensively. They got 6 sacks on Deshaun Watson. The Cleveland Browns look like an absolute train wreck. Deshaun Watson, I mean, I don't know, man. Maybe it's all of the allegations against him, all the stuff that he went through over the last couple of years. Maybe he doesn't have that confidence he once did. But, man, he looks like a shell of himself. And, they basically, went out there and they did what they needed to do. And, I think that the Dallas Cowboys are a good football team, but I don't think that, they just unstoppable or anything like that. And quite honestly, I think the Saints match up really well versus the Dallas Cowboys. I'm more concerned about the game against the Eagles more so than the Dallas Cowboys game because I feel like the New Orleans Saints have the defense to be able to counteract what Dallas does well, but it's going to be tough. I think that the Saints are going to have to eliminate some of the self-inflicted wounds that could have possibly gotten you beat last week. Like, there's a lot of things we aren't talking about because the lead was so insurmountable. But they're going to have to fix those things if they're going to win this football game. But there's a chance that they can actually win. And I get it, man. You have a lot of fans of other teams, that just feel like, the Saints are just going to come crashing down and this, that, and the third. But look, I think last week and what we saw from New Orleans Saints, I don't think that that's the entire story about what we're going to see the entire season. But I think somewhere in between, it was a good football team in there somewhere. So I do think that if people are going to take this team serious, you got to go out there and you got to play. I don't feel like, this is a game where, you just walk up and you just going to get absolutely destroyed. So, I mean, but they got to play as close to perfect as they can. You can't be missing field goals. You can't be dropping passes. You can't be overthrowing guys, and you can't be turning the ball over. If you can do that, then you'll be right there in the thick of things. But it's up to the New Orleans Saints to go out there and play as flawless as they can. Jake Ferguson might not play this week. Yeah, he had a serious knee injury. It's pretty serious. They don't think it's serious to a point where, he's going to miss an extended amount of time like they first thought. But, I think he's going to miss a game or two. No way in hell Atlanta should be ranked above the Saints. I don't care who. If it was the Panthers, 47-10 win is not normal in this league. Yeah, dark side, but hey, man, look, respect is earned. Respect is earned, and people don't respect the Carolina Panthers as a formidable bunch right now. Justifiably so. I mean, they look horrible. Bryce Young looked horrible. The defense looked like deer in headlights. The offense really didn't have any rhyme or reason or anything like that. So I can understand that. But I don't think that the Carolina Panthers were as bad as, they looked. I think it had something to do. And, they are good quarterbacks they play. And they make them look pretty normal. That's pretty much the calling card up the New Orleans Saints, being able to neutralize quarterbacks keep them in a pocket, making sure that they don't make explosive plays. They do a really good job in that. So I just feel like if you are a struggling quarterback like Bryce Young has been since he's come into the league, the Saints are going to make you look like you don't belong there. I mean, just go back and look at the tail of the tape. There's not too many defenses that just going out there and just steamrolling over the New Orleans Saints over the last couple of years. So I do feel like the New Orleans Saints are somewhere in between. I think they, are a little bit better if this offense can continue to build on the game that they had in week 1. I mean, I don't have an issue with the defense. I think the Saints have a championship defense. And if this offense can get on board, then the Saints can be a double-digit win team. It's not out of the realm of possibility here. You look at the NFC, I mean, what quarterback do you see moving a needle? I mean, you got Brock Purdy out there in San Francisco. To me, like, he's more of a system guy. You got Jalen Hurts for the Eagles. Dak Prescott. I like what I've seen out of Jaden Daniels, but he's still young. And Jordan Love, he's dealing with that MCL injury. And I don't know, man, even if he does come back a little bit early, I still think it's going to take him some weeks before he starts to feel and play like the Jordan Love we've seen down the stretch last season. So the Saints have a chance to, take advantage of these opportunities, and be able to maybe, make that run. So it starts with games like this. And, if you win a game like this, then, the power rankings will look a little bit different. But I'm not honestly, Dark Side, I appreciate that. And I agree with you, but I don't care what the power rankings are saying right now. To me, I love the fact that everybody's picking against the Saints. I love that the Saints have us against the world type mentality, because last season, when the Saints were winning football games and they heard what everybody was saying and reading the press clippings, all of a sudden, they go and they take a step back, and maybe the fact that nobody is believing in these guys, the fact that nobody expects for them to do anything, the fact that everybody just expects for them to win no more than 5 games, maybe that can be fuel in order for them to be able to continue to build on this momentum that they got in this Carolina game. Look, I'm glad that nobody's singing their praises, because maybe if they were, then, maybe there's a strong enough chance that they'll take a step back. Let's see. The Falcon guy on NFC South Roundtable hate the Saints with a passion. You handle your business, TJ. Man, shouts out to my guy, Smitty, man. Look, man, we go pretty hard on the show, but it's all love at the end of the day. He gonna go hard for his team, man, and he loves his team just as much as I love the New Orleans Saints. So, of course he's gonna defend his team, man, and that's what I'm there for, to defend the Saints. But I think that he's really knowledgeable. He knows what he's talking about, man. But we gonna hold each other accountable, and I'm pretty sure there's gonna come a time where I'm gonna have to be held accountable, for something I said. But we ain't gonna just pretend like we didn't hear what they were talking about. Like we heard, the bravado. We heard them, making it seem like, oh man, yeah, keep on talking. They had this arrogance about themselves, like, like we about to just hit the ground running and we about to steamroll everybody. And they were talking about Kirko and call them Kirko chains and all this other stuff. And now all of a sudden you're talking about him having an Achilles injury. I'm like, what was that? Like there was no cause to pause at all when it came to that. Now all of a sudden we're trying to use that as an excuse, and I can't do that. I can't do it. And I still stand on that. And I wasn't talking to him directly, because I think that he is, pretty non-biased if you ever look at his channel. But you do have, your fair share of fans that root for the Falcons who, talk out the side of their neck. And they basically create 2 narratives in case, one of the narratives don't work out. Like, the first narrative was, that the Saints were going to lose to Carolina. They're going to be one of the worst teams in the league. Where y'all offense is going to come from, right? And that's what the narrative was leading up to the Carolina Panthers game. And then, of course, when the Saints basically blew the doors off of them, then it was, oh, y'all just beat the Panthers. So, like I said, it's damn if you do, damn if you don't. But what I'm not going to do is allow Atlanta Falcon fans to act like they just wasn't so excited to a point where, they basically slept with their jerseys next to them in the bed before they went to the game on Sunday. And they thought that the Pittsburgh Steelers were going to be their sons. And it turned out it wasn't that way. And now it wasn't the way that you wanted it to go. now you're upset about it. I can't do that. I'm going to hold you accountable because that's just the way that we roll. But check out the NFC South Roundtable. And, you know, it was a really good show. You know, we have a lot of fun over there. But shouts out to my guy, Smitty, man. He going to defend his team, and I ain't got no problem with that. Let's see. I went to school with Turpin. Oh, okay, man, that's pretty cool. Beat the Panthers. Y'all finna get humbled real quick. Let me tell you something, man. Like, you can talk about getting humbled, but ain't nobody humble over here, man. Like, we believe in our team. See, that's the thing. Like, you ain't about to, like, Saints fans ain't going nowhere. Like some of these other fan bases. See, that's what y'all don't understand. If you've been a Saints fan long enough, you've been through the storms with this football team. No pun intended for those out there in Louisiana right now. Like, we've been through the storm, so there's nothing really you can say. Like, if they lose, okay, you know, like they lost, move on to the next game. You know, like that's just the way that we roll. Of course, we're gonna be excited about the game against Carolina, but that's what y'all hoping on. They're hoping that the New Orleans Saints fans would just basically just go away. We're gonna say who that regardless. Like, our love for this team, you know, is unconditional. It's unconditional love. And, you know, when I look at the Falcon fans, I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't see that much energy. I seen a few, like I say maybe 3 that were talking noise before the game. They were talking noise after the game. And for that, I'm going to give them their respect. But if you think that, oh, the Saints going to lose to the Dallas Cowboys and y'all laugh and then all of a sudden, yeah, see, y'all ain't nothing either. Well, the thing about it is nobody expected New Orleans Saints to do anything anyway. So what we have is a situation called lanyard. So anything the Saints do that is positive in 2024 is lanyard because nobody expected them to do anything anyway. But I can tell you who everybody expected to do something. That's the Atlanta Falcons, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to a certain extent. So if you think that if the Saints lose to the Cowboys, people are just going to be quiet and we ain't going to care no more and we're going to just tuck our tail between our legs like we ain't passionate about this thing, I think you're sadly mistaken. I don't think you know the right Saints fans. I don't think you understand where this fan base has come from for us to get to this particular point. You know, we ride or die with our New Orleans Saints team. Yes, they frustrate us, but guess what? We right back on our couch watching them next week. So if you think that that's going to happen, you think that any Saints fan going to be humble after a loss, you sadly mistaken. We basically going to turn up even more because we support our team good, bad, or indifferent. So I don't know what you thinking. I don't know what you may be insinuating, but Saints fans real out here. You know, I think with Atlanta Falcons, you have a bunch of people that ain't really from that area, and they basically grandstand and hot dog for the most part, and they just ride the wave of prosperity. And, you know, it's just like some of these other big, you know, metropolitan areas where if a certain sports venue or, you know, sports team is hot, they'll ride that wave. And then all of a sudden, if they're not showing the, you know, they're worth the price of admission, they'll walk away, you know. But Saints fans, like, we going to be in that thing. We going to be in that number. No pun intended. We love this team. You know, we all have our reasons for loving this team, but ain't nobody going nowhere if the Saints lose. Michael, thank you very much for the $1.99. Joshua, thank you very much for the $19.99. Says, bro, catching you is like catching a fish out of water, but this will be the start of the Kubiak Allen era, whereas Sean had to wait till he found Greg Williams to compliment him. Said Joshua, thank you very much. I don't think so. I ain't hard to find. Like Deion say, I ain't hard to find. I'm always on YouTube. I don't know if you subscribe to the channel, but if you hit the bell for notifications, you know, you'll definitely you know, see, you know, my videos pop up. I think a lot of people, if you follow me on Facebook, you know, you probably don't really get it because I was talking to a gentleman. He said, where you been? I'm like, where I been? Like, man, I got like 1,500 episodes of this show. Like, you just got to catch it on YouTube. You got to catch it on YouTube, man. I haven't really been sharing it audio form in a very long time, to be honest with you. I'm gonna start doing that again. You know, I think, you know, I don't know if a lot of people wanted to, you know, catch the audio version of it. I think a lot of people, you know, kind of like catching it on YouTube. That's the reason I kind of stopped putting it into audio. But if I have enough people that say that they would like the audio version of the State of the Saints, I'll start doing it again. I feel like it's worth trying to do that again. But, you know, for the most part, you can catch me on YouTube for those that don't know. But let's go ahead and move on, talk a little bit about, you know, Demario Davis. Demario Davis, one of the leaders of this defense, of course. He had a sack last week versus the Carolina Panthers. And, I mentioned Hurricane Francine that's supposed to hit landfall soon. And the New Orleans Saints are preparing for it. This is a team that is not unfamiliar with dealing with tropical storms and hurricanes in that area. And Demario Davis, before he even answered a question from the media, had an opening statement in regards to Hurricane Francine.
When you think about, storms that continuously hit this area, it becomes kind of like a Sunday where you can have all the predictions in the world, but it's still unknown as to what's going to take place. And I think that's the part. And so, some areas have favorable predictions, some don't. And you just never know. And so we're just praying. Hope everybody's safe. Hope everybody's hunkered down. Those that were able to get away, you're still in our prayers as well. It's just, it's a serious thing. And so we just want to know, like, even in the midst of all this going on and what we have to focus on, our hearts and prayers are with everybody.
Yeah, so as you can see, man, he pretty much just gave a shout out to the city there, and talking a little bit about the storm. But he also talked a little bit about, what that means for this team. If something was to happen, they have to kind of move around a little bit different, but when you're a football player, I think sometimes people forget that you're human. Like, these guys have families, man. They got kids, they got wives, they got, things that they worry about outside of football. I mean, there's a very beautiful picture that's circling around Alvin Kamara with his young daughter, before the game, and, as a father, man, that kind of touches me, what I'm saying? Because, I love doing this show, man. I love doing this show, but there's nothing that is more important to me than being a husband and a father. Like, if my wife, my son need anything, guess what? Ain't no show happening, right? My son, who is in kindergarten now, now he's getting into homework. Now he's getting into organized sports. Guess what? I'm taking if I got something going on, it's taking a back seat, because that is very, very important. And sometimes we have to understand that those players are human beings as well. They do supernatural things in our eyes. They make a lot of money, but at the same time, they deal with the same situations that we deal with on a daily basis. They just so happen to have a job that a lot of us aspire to do, wish we could do. But, it comes with adversity when you're dealing with stuff like this, right? Because, you got to worry about your family, and all the while you got to come up with a game plan on how to try to play against the Dallas Cowboys. And Demario Davis spoke a little bit about the type of adversities that you're dealing with, and how, when you're dealing with it, other teams don't care.
I just think everybody, that's one of the unique things about this game. When you think about the high level that people have to be able to compartmentalize and focus at, you have to understand that the seriousness that we're going through is not the seriousness that our opponent is going through. But the focus has to be the same. Our opponent is looking at us like, they glad you got problems. They don't necessarily glad you got a hurricane, and not that they wish bad, but they glad that you got problems, because it's adversity that'll hopefully play in their favor. And so that's the part about this game. It goes on. And so, and because that's your job, you just got to be able to do it at a high level in the midst of whatever adversity that is.
So, like he said, nobody cares. So the Saints are going to have to stay focused. The Dallas Cowboys, they're going to be prepared. So you got to basically compartmentalize here. But hopefully they can be able to, get everything together. Hopefully this storm won't affect anybody to a point where, houses are damaged and, people are displaced. Nobody wants to go through situations like that. But once again, I want to take this opportunity to thank the fine folks at BETUS. The State of the Saints podcast is powered by BETUS. And right now, the Saints are 6.5-point underdogs to the Dallas Cowboys. And if you go to BETUS, you can sign up and get up to 150% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. you can actually place a bet on the game. If you feel like the Saints are going to cover, like you can go ahead and bet that. If you feel like the New Orleans Saints are going to win a football game, you can bet on that as well. All you have to do is use the promo code YouTube150. That's YouTube150. All right. So thank you to the fine folks at BetUS. And also, I would be remiss if I didn't mention on this day, of course, we know back in 2001, the 9/11, the two planes that hit the World Trade Center as well as the Pentagon on that day. I'll never forget being a young 10th grader walking down the hall of Frederick Douglass High School at the time. I wasn't even at Carver where I graduated, but I can remember, everybody, walking in a hallway. Everybody's afraid, didn't know what the heck was going on. But thousands of people lost their lives, and thousands of people, lost family members. Lives were changed forever. And people are still dealing with that type of trauma to this day. So for those that may be watching that has family members that may have been affected by that tragic event, or even if you just remember that event, man, my heart goes out to those people that dealt with that. May those individuals that lost their lives in the towers at the Pentagon, and man, may they rest in peace. So just wanted to recognize them on this day, September 11th. But let's go ahead and read some more of your comments. Thank you all so much for being here. We got 302 people watching this right now. 307. Please hit the like button. If you like the State of the Saints podcast, you want us to grow, you like yours truly, go ahead and hit that like button. Keen Arthur says, Smitty had excuses for the Falcons, but we actually won against the team we were supposed to beat. Yet their allegedly unstoppable offense they had got beat by 6 field goals. So how bad does Atlanta look? Well, look, all I know is I won't accept excuses from that, because they were so sure they were going to win that football game. So I just thought it was hilarious. I just thought it was hilarious, to be honest with you. And I saw it coming. Like, I saw it coming. And it's so funny that, people just think that I'm just hating on the Atlanta Falcons. I ain't got no reason to hate on the Atlanta Falcons. Like, what do the Atlanta Falcons and what have they done for me as a supporter, a fan of the New Orleans Saints? Like, who am I to hate on the Atlanta Falcons? The Atlanta Falcons haven't done anything for me to be sitting up here hating on them. Like, I don't know. I just tell it like it is. Like, I can't help it that I'm pretty entertaining when I do it. You know what I'm saying? But what I do is, I just put a little bit of entertainment aspect to it. But I understand. Like, I will give them this. The defense looks better. The defense look formidable. And, they forced them to kick 6 field goals. I give them that. But at the end of the day, you can't talk that talk and not walk that walk, right? I mean, that's just the way that it goes. And my whole point was everybody's pretty much on an equal playing field. And despite the fact that we, have our thoughts and our feelings about the Falcons, like, there's a chance they can win this division too, But the thing is, like, everybody's pretty much the same. It would not surprise me, for the exception of the Carolina Panthers, that any one of these teams win the division, because all of these teams have done the right things in order for them to improve their football team. But, like, when you start talking about, like, your team is just so superior to the other, that's why I'm like, wait a minute now. Because even as a Saint fan, I'm not going to sit up here confidently and say we're superior to every team in the NFC South. Like, that would just be asinine. Like, just because, you got a couple of names of people that everybody around the National Football League know, that don't make you a contender. What makes you a contender is you put in all of that together, and you go out there and you perform at a high level and you win consistently. That is what puts you in that situation. But just showing up, that don't mean anything, like, I can't roll like that. I can't concede to that. I respect the aggressiveness of Terry Fontenot in the front office for them trying to put together a formidable team and a team that their fan base can actually rally behind. but you got to go out there and you got to put that thing together, and if you can't put it together, man, then, it is what it is. Like, we got to call it for what it is. Like, but you can't be talking about like this is some Adrian Broner type stuff. Like, this is Adrian Broner. Like, y'all know Adrian Broner, man. If you don't, Adrian Broner is a boxer. And, back in the day, like, he was an undefeated fighter. It was a while back, but he was an undefeated fighter. And he kind of made his image similar to that of a Floyd Mayweather. And he talked a bunch of noise, right? And then all of a sudden, like, he went up against Marcos Maidana, a guy, that was a really good, hard-hitting welterweight. And he was talking all that noise, talking about how he was going to beat him, how he was going to sleep him, all this type of stuff. And he went in the ring, got beat, right? But, you can talk as much noise as you want to. You can get people into the building, but at the end of the day, when they say ding, ding, you got to fight. And if you get knocked on your behind, then guess what? The tweets, the memes are going to come out talking about what you say you were going to do, and you ain't end up doing it. So it's just that plain and simple, man. You just gotta secure the win. Red Swarm, thank you very much for the $4.99. Says, what's good, TJ? I know I talk my Falcon Saint junk, but I have the utmost respect for your hard work, brother. Bless the families of 9/11. Yeah, Red Swarm, man. Shouts out to Red Swarm, a Falcon fan that supports the channel. Also is over there on the NFC South round table as well. Yeah, man. I mean, look, we have our differences, but one thing, I think that we all can agree with, man, that event that happened on September 11 back in the day, I mean, that was just absolutely tragic. And, we remember those individuals that were affected by that on this day. Joshua, thank you very much for the $4.99. Says, do you think the pass rush can create pressure to get to Dak? I think they can, man. I think that, it kind of got slipped under the rug a little bit, but they were able to, get Bryce Young off his spot. They were able to do that. I just think that, when it doesn't come in sacks and bunches, I think that we have a tendency of feeling like nothing's happening. But you go back and watch that tape, man, they're capable of doing that. Keen Arthur, thank you very much for the $2. Said, TJ, he didn't get a sack, but Chase Young got busy. Yeah, that basically kind of coincides and, segues into what I was saying, man. I'm talking the defensive line, they were able to get pressure on Bryce Young. I mean, there was one play, what I want to say, Jatavian Sanders, like the tight end for the Carolina Panthers. I mean, he got knocked on his behind. He even talked about that. He said that was his welcome to the NFL moment, that Chase Young knocked him down on his behind like that, man. Those guys were getting after it. So if they can get after it, man, get that pressure on Dak Prescott, man, it can make it very, very tough for Dak. I can tell you that right there. Keen Arthur also says Lave was quiet in terms of receptions, but was great at blocking. There's more than one way for a player to affect the game. Shows he brought in and not selfish. Yeah, man. I mean, look, I love an unselfish player. He was willing to go out there and get busy. His opportunities will come, man. But it was just, a different game plan. It was just a different scheme. But I just think as time progresses, they'll find ways to get him involved. But there were some plays where he should have had more yards, but I think he had maybe a couple catches, and they were actually brought back due to penalties. So he would have had a better stat line, would have had more targets that would have been recorded his way. But of course, the flags, they had 10 of them in a game. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, you got to clean that stuff up. But I like the fact that he actually has bought into the system. And I think that the main objective is winning. Yeah, you want to appeal in stat line, and yes, you want to be the focal point of the offense, especially him now being the true number one for the New Orleans Saints. But I don't think the Rashid Shaheed situation happens if Chris Olave didn't garner so much attention as well. I mean, if you take the attention off of Chris Olave and put it on Shaheed, then guess what? I mean, Chris Olave numbers would have been looking like Shaheed. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword here when it comes to those guys. I mean, to me, they both are very special. They do very unique things, and they kind of complement each other. Now, I do feel like the Saints, in my opinion, they're missing a big body receiver. Hopefully, A.T. Perry, who has dealt with that hand injury, he was out week 1. He practiced on Wednesday. So hopefully he can be back. I feel like he can kind of serve as that big body receiver that the Saints need. But, all in all, I like the way that they use the tight ends. And if you're going to use the tight ends like that, well, those are your big body guys that can be in the middle of the field, that can do that dirty work and be that 3rd and 2 and 3rd and 1 type situational receiver. So I like what the Saints have done. And shouts out to Chris Olave for being a team player and understanding that his time indeed will come. He just has to be a little bit patient and sometimes, be willing to do the dirty work. I feel like we can beat Dallas if they have the mindset. Yeah, I mean, look, if you play flawless, if you go out there and you pay attention to details, sound tackling, very good communication, making sure that you understand, it's going to be loud, it's going to be crazy. You don't want to get too many false start penalties, put yourself behind the 8 ball. Don't want to get holding penalties. Try to run the football, even though Dallas defense, when it comes to the run defense, has improved. They had issues last season, but Mike Zimmer, the new defensive coordinator, he seemed like he kind of got that thing together. Now, I'm not fully 100% sold just yet on the Dallas Cowboys run defense. Maybe the game, if Alvin Kamara can't find success, neither can Jamal Williams, maybe they'll change my mind. But I just think that it had a lot to do with the fact that, Ford, who is a really good running back, he is not like a top running back in the league. The Cleveland Browns, they were without Nick Chubb. They no longer had Kareem Hunt on the team. And now you're asking that 3rd string guy to move into that number 1 spot. I'm not too sure about that just yet. And the Cleveland Browns, they are a run-first type team to set up the play action and explosive plays down the field. But I don't think that they have the firepower at the running back position. I'm praying that Nick Chubb actually comes back. It's unfortunate what happened to that brother. But I think that, he'll be back. I don't, will he be the same running back as he once was? I hope so. But he was a really good running back. He was a top 10 running back when he was out there. And when you lose someone of that magnitude and you replace him with a guy, to me, is solid, but to me, he's not that number 1 guy. I kind of played into the hands of the Dallas Cowboys. And, with that, even though, they may not have the best running back, that still builds confidence, right? Just like the New Orleans Saints. A lot of people feel like the Carolina Panthers weren't a very good team. They weren't a very good team, but at the end of the day, it gave the Saints confidence by dropping 47 points on their head. So this could be one of those situations where the Dallas Cowboys come in and they have that confidence, something that they lacked last year when it came to the run defense, being prepared to take on the New Orleans Saints. And, they think that they can actually neutralize them. That is why this offensive line has to replicate or even play better in some regards than they did last week versus Carolina. And if they can do that, then you might find yourself 5 minutes into the game with a lead or, driving down the field to take a lead. Rather it's a field goal, rather it's a go-ahead touchdown. If you don't beat yourself, pause, then you can find yourself in in a good situation. Let's see, TJ. The Saints offensive line issues are still there. Yeah, they may still be there, of course, but this offense kind of like covers it up, right? But shouts out to everybody here, man. We got 329 people watching this right now, and just like Shannon Sharp, we as live can be, man. We are live as live can be here on the Stay of the Saints podcast. So if you like the Stay of the Saints podcast, you already hit that thumbs up button. Put a thumbs up in the chat. And if you have not hit the like button, then go ahead and hit that like button, hit that thumbs up, man. Help this show to grow. Come on, man. We got 333 people watching this right now. There's no reason why we shouldn't have 333 thumbs up right now. All right. Let's go ahead and finish up. Keenart also said, TJ, if we run the ball, control the clock, and score at the end of a long drive, we give ourselves the best chance to win. Yeah. I mean, yes, that's accurate. I think that, you got to control the time of possession. That's always key when you're playing on the road. Control the time of possession, minimize the mistakes, and, capitalize on opportunities. I seen a couple busted plays and coverage watching Bryce Young film. He missed some throws, and Dak will definitely make secondary needs to fix some things, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there were a couple of busted plays, of course, but that's the reason why you go back and watch film. See, the thing about it is, like, sometimes when just like how you seen that, Veli, the Saints seen it too. And I'm pretty sure that in the film room, in their respected position group rooms, they're going over those things. They're showing that tape, right? They're showing the film of them making those mistakes or what could have been, right? They're doing that. So at the end of the day, like, you correct those mistakes and make sure that they don't happen to you. The Aints will get demolished on Sunday. I don't even think you believe that. I don't even think you believe that. I think you want to believe it. You praying that it happened, but I don't think you believe that. I can't I don't. I'll be shocked if the Saints get steamrolled, but I think they praying on that to happen. Which the fact that they praying on the Saints to lose is basically telling me that the Saints are going in the right direction. Let's see if the offensive line are going to get stepping up in the right direction against the Cowgirls this Sunday. TJ, if Clint Kubiak going to get more stronger on offensive strategy, solidified with our team players, if they beat on the Cowboys, pause, they'll be just fine at the end of the day. Big payback on the Cowgirls in the last 4 years, though I ain't lying. Well, look, the offensive line got to play better, right? I mean, they played well, but you got to play better. There was some holding penalties that could have possibly put the Saints in behind the 8 ball. The Saints were able to, get that plus yardage back, set up manageable third downs in those situations, but you're not going to be able to do that every time. Once the competition gets a little bit more stiff, you're not going to be able to do some of the things that you did. So you putting yourself in a first and 15, a first and 20 situation. It's going to be hard for you to be able to convert those third downs because they're going to be third and longs more times than not if you're going up against formidable competition. So they're going to have to do the right things. Cowboys are a perfect test for the Saints team. We either win or we learn this Sunday. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a litmus test of where you are as a team. If you beat the Cowboys, this shows us that you're headed in the right direction. If you can't win and you look formidable in there, then that shows you that you got some things that you can actually build on. This is a very weird place to be if you're a Saints fan because, if the Saints, it's one of those situations where you go from feeling like the Saints can win every game, but if the Saints lose a football game, you kind of understand, right? And, it's basically like having moral victories. Like, how bad was the loss? Like, did you lose by a field goal? Did you lose, by, 3-4 touchdowns? Like, it kind of tells you exactly where you are as a team. And I think with a win, people are going to really start believing in this football team. And then I feel like that's when we're going to see what type of team they really are. Because if they lose this game, then people are like, oh, yeah, we knew they weren't going to be very good. But if they win, people are like, oh, wait a minute. Like, we got to look out for the Saints. And with that, comes praise. So how is it, when you become the man? Everybody's toasting you, right? You're the toast of the town. How are you going to be able to react to that is the question. I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see, man. If you want somebody to believe in you, if you want somebody to believe what you're trying to sell the masses, then you go out here, you play formidable, you find yourself in a situation late in the game, and hopefully you can come away with a victory. And I think if you do that, then people will have no choice but to believe that you're doing the right things and you could possibly be a playoff team. How do you think Penny will hold up against Parsons? I don't think he'll hold up against Parsons. But if you look at the Saints film, there was very few times where Trevor Penny was actually blocking, a defensive lineman of the Carolina Panthers all by himself. Like, he was getting some help, so I don't expect for him to be going one-on-one against Michael Parsons. I mean, he will get his lunch eaten every single time. I'm not even going to lie about that. Saints played a JV team last Sunday. Cowboys win by 40. They played a JV team last Sunday. Cowboys win by 40. Okay. All right. If you say so. If you think that, then you don't know football, which I don't think you do. I really don't. You know, like I said, I don't know. Some of y'all just talk football like, I don't even think y'all believe this stuff yourself. Let's see. We finna put a Shannon Sharp clapping on let's see. I'll be in Dallas for the game. Let's make a statement, fellas. Vic boy. All right, bro. Like I didn't gave you enough shine, dog. I gave you enough shine. I know my show popping, bro, but I can't help you with that, man. Buy a microphone and buy a webcam, and you can say whatever you want. We gave you 3. Let's see. The defense has to come to play, stop and run up front. We know Dak can't do it by himself. We need to get Taysom started early. Cowboys run defense is honestly not good. Run that rock and hit the play action. Yeah, man, run the rock, set up the play action. Let them be able to respect the run game by putting 8 in the box. Man coverage across the board. I'm not going to disrespect the Cowboys, man. They got some guys that can play, man. They got Trayvon Diggs out there, ball hawk, but he is susceptible of getting beat. Like, he is a feast or famine type cornerback. Like, there's a chance where you put the ball in his vicinity, he's going to catch it like a wide receiver. And then there are times where he can get smoked like brisket, burnt like a biscuit, and look like one of the worst players on the field. But he is on, and he is a guy that you don't want to throw in his direction, man, because he does have wide receiver hands. So, but I'm not going to say, okay, he's going to set up the play action. Like, them dudes can play man across the board. I do not like the Dallas Cowboys. I do not like Dallas Cowboys at all. But I will say that those guys, they can man up just like the Saints can. Like, to me, defensively, like, they kind of, I don't want to say they kind of mirror the Saints, because I feel like they have better, no disrespect, I feel like their defensive players are a little bit more active than the New Orleans Saints defensive players. But, I think that they match up really, really well. Like, I think that, some of the things the Saints can do well can give the Dallas Cowboys offense fits, and I feel this vice versa. What the Saints do well, I feel like the Dallas Cowboys defense can give them fits. That's why I don't feel like it's going to be a high-scoring game. If it is, I'll be shocked. Make sure y'all stays from the storm. Yeah. Let's see. I'm at my dad's, my powwow. Yeah, man. Please, y'all be safe out there, man. Please, y'all be safe out there. Man, stop it, Dallas fans. Y'all know y'all can't F with us. Yeah, I mean, look, man, the Dallas Cowboys are a good football team. I'm not going to hate on them. I'm not going to do that. But, they're a really good regular season team. When they get to the postseason, it's a whole different story, right? I mean, no matter the record, 12 wins, 13 wins. Like, it don't seem like they were able to get over that hump. They get them the number 1 seeds, the 2 seeds, and, but their biggest issues in the playoffs. Like, I think they're gonna win the East. I think they're gonna win the NFC East again, but that don't seem to matter. Like, it matters what you do in the postseason. Y'all remember this, the offensive play style that always beats the Cowboys. Yeah, I mean, when they play against the San Francisco 49ers, yeah, that is tough. But Mike Zimmer is up there. Like, Steve Spagnuolo, Robert Saleh, Todd Bowles, Dennis Allen, Mike Zimmer. Like, those are like some of the top defensive coaches in the game to me. Like, they got some other ones out there that I didn't name, and forgive me for that, but those guys right there, to me, it don't really get too much better than that. So I think that he'll have those guys prepared. But like I said, Clint Kubiak was his offensive coordinator, and he does have experience going up against a Mike Zimmer's defense in that 1 year. But somebody brought it to my attention too. So did Kevin Stefanski. Kevin Stefanski was his offensive coordinator too, right before Clint Kubiak got there. So he wasn't able to, get one up on his head coach there. So maybe this could be one of those situations too. But the fact that you have familiarity with Mike Zimmer and his defensive style, I mean, it could help you out. But I'm not going to say it gives you is not going to give you it gives you a chance to like you're just going to win the football game. I don't think that. If we win, the narrative will be about what Cowboys did wrong instead of giving Nola credit. TJ, I'm calling it. Chase gets 2 sacks. Nola wins 26-17. Look, I think that if they win this game, you have no choice but to say that the Saints are going in the right direction. It's only the second game of the season, so it doesn't make or break your season. I mean, it's still a long season. You still have, plenty of games to play after this. So, but it does tell you or give you an indication that the Saints are going in the right direction. Only that. It doesn't tell you that the Saints are going to make the playoffs. Doesn't tell you that the Saints are going to win the division. Once again, it is a long season. So these first 2 games kind of can set the tone. I mean, if you can actually win a game like this, right? You already have Murderous Row. You got Philly after that. You got the Falcons, and then you got the Kansas City Chiefs. Like you got some tough competition coming up really, really soon. So if you can actually get out of this gauntlet 500, maybe a game above 500, then people ain't gonna have no choice but to respect the hustle. Nobody expect the New Orleans Saints to win more than the game that they won last week. So if you end up winning 1 or 2 more of these games, you have no choice but to respect the New Orleans Saints, rather they want to believe that or not. Keep it clean in the chat. Let's see, TJ, how cool I was. It was seeing Hoodie Jube and Chosen live in person. Yeah, man. I mean, it was it was really cool to see them in person, man. It was also humbling, man. I was almost like emotional about the situation because, I always tell y'all why I started this podcast and where it started from. Like, I wasn't even on camera. Some of you probably remember when I wasn't. It wasn't the fact that I didn't want to be, it's the fact that I couldn't be. I didn't have the money for a webcam. I didn't have the money for like all the different things that you all see now. It's honestly a blessing. Shouts out to WLGI. Shouts out to my former general manager, Mr. Greg Kentz. Basically gave me my first webcam. Like when he seemed like I was really into podcasts, and he gave me my first Logitech C920. And that's when I started to do live streams. And then from there, he blessed me and told me that I can use the station resources, the microphones, and do my podcast at the station. And, and from there, what I'm saying, the podcast started to grow. So I always tell people, man, like the pictures you see behind me, like me taking a picture with Josh Norman, me at the Senior Bowl, me going to the Combine, like, man, I'm blessed, so when you see people that, that just believe in you, that just, watch what you do, support you, like it's humbling, I don't look at it like it's crazy, like, seeing people and talk about how, my podcast affects them, how it makes them feel. Like I look at it and I think about it like, you don't know what that means to me. Like, it's so crazy. Like I was out at the it was called the Waves of Praise Gospel Fest. I was with my wife, and I was with Paxton, and I'm leaving out, and somebody just recognized me from the podcast, and it's like it was just so crazy, it's like, because I'm like, when I do this show, like I'm just doing it because I love the New Orleans Saints, and I love the interaction with the Who Dat Nation. So yeah, it was humbling, man, to me. Like it was more of a pleasure than anything, to meet people that support this show. And that means a lot to me, man. Like they could have went to the game, they could have went to some other restaurant around the area. They didn't have to stop by. So that meant a lot to me. Like, to be honest with you, I'm not a big time person. I don't have a bunch of sponsorships. I did it the old fashioned way, man. Just hard work, dedication, and not too many opportunities. Basically, you have to carve your own lane. And no disrespect to anybody else, who got those opportunities. They're knocking it out of the park. But when I think about the fact that I, basically just started this thing, with spit and glue, and now we're here, it's humbling. So yes, it was humbling to see those two guys. Shouts out to Zach, he was there too. Shouts out to him. Man, his name escapes me. I apologize, but I met him. He listens to the show, and if he's in the chat right now, you're watching this right now. He went to Tulane, he's going to grad school, and he was talking about how much he likes the show as well. And you go from that, and you got people like taking pictures of you and stuff like that while you're doing the show live. Shouts out to my big brother EJ who co-hosts with me. My mom who drove 3 hours, my sister who drove 3 hours, my uncle Isaac who I didn't get a chance to talk to because he stepped outside. But shouts out to him. My dad, you know what I'm saying? Some shouts out to all those people who make like it's humbling. It's humbling. I know I kind of just went on a little spiel, but I want people to understand, like, I appreciate the hell out of y'all. I do. I appreciate the hell out of each and every one of you. You ain't about to hear me talk about like how great I am. Like, I know if I got any type of traction at all, it's because of individuals like you that believed in me for me to get to this point. So thank y'all. TJ, almost 60-point Clint Kubiak, not playing around because think about it, TJ, if it wasn't for penalties, that's 60-something points right there against the kitty. Yeah, it could have been, man. Could have been 60 points, but hey, man, like I go whine and boo-hoo over no 47 either. Darrell says, TJ, that's a blessing. Yeah, man. And also, man, I want to thank while I'm thinking about this too, the Little Easy, man. Shouts out to the Little Easy. I did my first live podcast in the city there at that restaurant. And after I was done, they told me I can come back anytime and do my show there. And I plan on doing that. And I told them, like, for the rest of the season, like, I will be plugging them, like, man, because they didn't have to do that. So if you're ever in New Orleans, I mean, it's a good atmosphere anyway. Like, I love being there. But if you're ever in New Orleans, like, you want to go somewhere after the game, before the game, go to the Little Easy, 634 Julia Street, in downtown New Orleans, man. It's not that far from the Superdome. I was able to do the pregame, walk to the Superdome. So it was a pretty smooth transition right there, man. So 634 Julia Street. If you go up in there, just tell them TJ sent you. They'll know what you're talking about. All right. TJ, your Lost Pod has helped me. Let's see, in the loop, 1,300 miles away in Philly. You're doing the Lord's work, brother. Well, Eugene, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate it, and people that they watch this show from all across the country and around the world. I get emails and stuff, people talking about they listen to this show in Brazil and Italy and stuff like that. And, you got people that, writing me in different languages. I have to hit the translate button for them to know what I'm talking about. Like, that's crazy. That's humbling too, man. Saints need to stick that 5-point suppository up to where the sun don't shine in Dallas. Yeah, man, there's no love lost between the Saints and the Dallas Cowboys. I can tell you that right there. You do good work, brother. That's how you got the following, real people and fans. Appreciate that. Yeah, man, Keem, I appreciate y'all too. Y'all gonna hear me say that a lot. Shout out to my brother TJ. You heard me. Keep grinding, whoa. You play major part in our lives and have inspired me to also be a great where is he out of them mud baby. Yeah. I mean, look, I just like what I do. I just love talking about sports in general, man. I just like talking about sports in general, but it makes it even better being able to talk sports with great people like yourselves. And like I said, meeting Chosen and Hoodie, in person. I mean, I talk to Hoodie all the time, man. Hoodie, we talk all the time. Chosen like texts me all the time and stuff like that as well, man. So I mean, I know them on a, a certain level, behind the scenes, but that was the first time we actually met each other in person. But thank you for the $10, T. Riley, Teddy Riley. Let's see, listening in Japan. Wow, man. See what I'm talking about, man. Shouts out to T. Riley, man. Teddy Riley. Teddy's Jams. Let's see. Darrell TJ was at the game last Sunday. Yeah, at the Saints game. Yeah, I was at the game. I was at the game, man. Yeah, I was at the game. No Bland on the other side of the field. Yeah, pick six shorty will not be out there. Japan, shout out. We truly appreciate you. Yeah, we appreciate you, man. Let me see. BJ, he's going to have to choose it. Too many people to cover. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a tough matchup. Amen. May God continue to bless you and your family, TJ. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Keem says, if we run the ball successfully and stop the run, then I love our chances. Stay in the third and shorts, and that's how you kind of neutralize Parsons. We can do it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you can neutralize Parsons. I mean, he's going to get busy. He's going to get active. I ain't even going to try to play that game with y'all. Y'all know, look, I feel like if you're talking about neutralizing Michael Parsons or trying to completely shut down CeeDee Lamb, then you basically just trying to put your own mind at ease. Those guys are special. And, you know, I will say this on the NFC South Roundtable. I will agree with one thing Smitty said when he was talking about TJ Watt. He was like, anybody would, in them, it didn't matter the defender. I mean, the offensive lineman, he was going to get past him. It's just certain guys, no matter what type of game plan you have from them, they're going to get it. And those two guys are special players. They are cut from a different cloth. No matter who you put on them, they're going to get theirs. But it's just important that you don't let them run wild. Like, you can't let Michael Parsons have 5 sacks. You can't let CeeDee Lamb go for 200, right? You got to be able to, like, shut them down in certain situations where they don't just completely take over the game and just take you out of your position. You know, if you can do that, then you'll be fine. TJ, I truly feel like Alontae Taylor can hold CeeDee Lamb. I don't know, man. I don't know if any one of them can hold CeeDee Lamb, to be honest with you. I honestly feel like even Marshawn Lattimore would have problems with CeeDee Lamb. Some guys are just special, man. Like, I just think people need to understand something. I think that when we talk about guarding and covering guys, we just feel like their stat line should be no catches, no yards, or whatever, right? But, man, to me, like, the stat line that CeeDee Lamb had last week was what I would like to say a team actually neutralizing him. He had, 5 catches for 61 yards? He was targeted 10 times in that game. That's pretty much neutralizing him, and he still had almost 100 yards. So they're going to get their catches, man. Like, if you think that you're just going to completely shut down CeeDee Lamb, I'd be shocked. Like, I would like to know, like, CeeDee Lamb's, like, lowest reception and yards count. Like, you ain't about to shut this dude down for 11 yards. Like, unless he caught a pass and not playing for the rest of the game. You just got to be able to neutralize them and take advantage of, you know, certain things, right? You know, like, let's just say, for example, if he catches the ball and it's a 5-yard gain, just hurry up and tackle him. All right. He catches the ball, it's 5 yards added to his stat line, but he didn't do too much damage. That's how you got to play this thing. Those guys are going to get theirs. Run at 11. I seen him struggle in the run game. TJ, I feel like Kubiak is the savior for DA as DA was the savior for Sean when we had those 3-7-9 season because defense was so bad. Feel like we were well balanced now. Great OC and DC and vet leaders. Well, Hoodie, like, I agree. I like what I seen out of Clint Kubiak, but it has just been one game. I want to see a larger sample size before I just, you know, anoint his head with oil and my cup runneth over, right? Psalms 23 for those that don't go to church. But, you know, I just look at, like, I like what I saw, right? But we got to see this thing consistent. Like, I don't want to be prisoner of moment. Shouts out to Nick Underhill said this. I think he was on, if I'm not mistaken, off the bench with T-Bob and Jacob Hester. Shouts out to my guy T-Bob. But he was just talking about he don't want to drink the Kool-Aid because we seen the Saints kind of start the season. We remember where they played Green Bay and they beat Green Bay 38-3, right? And I want to say what the Saints won, 7-10 that season. Now you can say what they went 7-9 or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was. I think it was before they added an extra game. That was when Sean Payton was the coach. Even though they lost Jameis Winston, it's still they still didn't make the playoffs. So, I want to like kind of pump the brakes and, before we get all excited. We remember the game when, the Saints came back from 18 points down against the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, how could we not? But, everybody got excited about that. And then Saints went 7-10, right? Last season, they started the game against the Tennessee Titans. That big fade down the left sideline, streak route down the field, Rashid Shaheed to seal the game. They won, I want to say 17-16. We got excited about that, right? Then all of a sudden, they went 9-8. So I want to pump my brakes before I start anointing these guys and start talking about who's saving what. Hoodie, I think you're right. I believe, what I'm saying, that what you're saying, that has a lot of merit. But I still have a wait and see approach. I need to see this thing really cooking and working. I seen it cooking last week, but like I said, it's a long season, man. It's a long season. And, these are the type of games where you feel like you want to see their best offensive performances. You did it against Carolina, and that was great. That was the division rival. It adds more weight to your playoff push. This game right here will add to your playoff push because it is an NFC opponent. So when we start talking about tiebreakers down the stretch, did you beat the Dallas Cowboys? Did you beat the Philadelphia Eagles? Did you beat the Falcons at least once? Did you beat Tampa at least once? Like these games are going to be, beneficial to you. You got a lot of NFC teams. You're starting off the season playing what? Not 4 out of your first 5 games you're playing against NFC teams. So, yeah, you got to be able to win some of these games. So, I'm not going to like completely like just, put him in that spot just yet. I know he's the toast of the town right now, but we need to see this more consistently before we start like, really, just saying that he's saving anybody. Like, we don't know. Like this could be the start of something special. It could be the start of something we like to call fool's gold. I hope that is the start of something special. Cowboys overrated every year, TJ. Not in the regular season. In the postseason, they seem to be overrated, but not in the regular season. They win 12, 13 games a season. They the regular season champs. While y'all waiting to see, I've seen enough. We are a real contender. Well, look, that's the positive attitude, man. That's a positive attitude, and I'm not going to take that away from you, Lou. If you feel that way, continue to feel that way, and hopefully the Saints will continue to make you feel that way. But I still have a wait and see approach when it comes to this team because like I said, I want to say that they've changed, they've improved, and in some areas it seems like they have. But I just want to see a large enough sample size before I just completely just anoint this team and just say that they problems are solved, right? I mean, man, the Saints are a roller coaster of emotions. 1 week they'll have you feeling like they're the best team in football. They'll shut down some of the most well-known players on a team. They'll force them to punt the ball several times, and the offense will look like something. And then the next week they look like they forgot how to play football. Blake Groupie missing field goals left and right. Derek Carr looking like he have happy feet. Running game ain't working. Cesar E slipping and sliding all over the place. Like, like it's a roller coaster of emotions. So I'm glad that nobody's picking the New Orleans Saints. I'm glad that nobody expects for them to do anything because it seems like over the last few years they thrived in that type of environment. The problem is when everybody started telling them how great they are. That's when I feel like they start to like kind of lose sight of who they are. So right now they're ticked off because everybody's just talking about how terrible they are. You heard it. Like Dennis Allen came in with analytics and stat sheets, told Derek Carr that he was the 26th ranked quarterback according to prognosticators. Saints were gonna have 5 wins. Like those guys were motivated. 5 wins, we'll show you. But what happens when everybody calling you a contender? What happens when everybody's saying that you are going to be the team that come out the South? You're going to be the team that comes out of the NFC or the AFC. How do you respond? So right now, I like the position they're in. And I'm not mad that nobody is picking them to be a contender, because whether you are the biggest Saints fan or not, you have to admit they haven't earned it. Because going into the season, you didn't feel like they earned it. We all feel like, for some of us, a strong percentage of us felt like the bottom was going to drop. And some of us still feel like it will. It just, we just got a little bit more hope than we had before the season started. So if you want to change the narrative, you win consistently, and you keep your head down and continue to build and continue to work, and don't care about how great people are telling you are when you start winning. Keep that same energy as if it was when everybody was saying that you were going to come out with just 5 wins by the end of the season. You're just going to come out looking like one of the worst teams in football. Keep that same energy. Cool Sports, thank you very much for the $4.99. Says, TJ, people be posting stuff about our chance of making a playoff, but it's too early. We need to take it one game at a time. Well, I'll be one of the people that be posting that stuff too, because, BetUS, the proud sponsor of the State of the Saints podcast, of course we gotta do that. But I get what you're saying, man. Nobody knows. It's too early. It's only been one game. Right now, everybody a playoff contender, even if you lost. Except if you're the Panthers. And I don't know. Let's see. Just being objective. Also, Rashid Shaheed is slightly underrated. I feel like he's the key on Sunday. I think that he may not be the key. You want to know who I think the key is to this game? I'm going to tell you who I think the key is to this game. The key to this game is Chris Olave, because I think that Rashid Shaheed is going to get a lot of more attention. I think it wouldn't shock me if Trayvon Diggs is guarding Rashid Shaheed throughout the game. That's how I feel about them. And Chris Olave, I feel like this is going to be a game where there's a possibility where he could actually find some levels of success. Another person I feel like would be, a key part in this game. It would be rather, I don't know. The status is still up in there with the concussion with Foster Monroe. But Juwan Johnson could be a key in this game. Those are the two guys that I'm looking at offensively. I think, and also Derek Carr. I know what the Dallas Cowboys are going to do. Dallas Cowboys, their number one focal point is going to be Alvin Kamara, because they know the Saints are going to try to establish the run, and they're going to try to neutralize and shut down Alvin Kamara and force Derek Carr to throw the football to try to beat him. And they're going to take their chances with that. And just like the Saints are going to try to shut down the running game of the Dallas Cowboys and put it in the hands of Dak Prescott and make Dak Prescott beat him. Same thing. So that's how I feel about it. Chris Olave, to me, this can be a game where he can, really find success catching the football. Elwood says, I love the content. TJ spreading love tonight to my favorite Saints content creator. Been subscribed for a minute. Keep up the good work. Much love. Beat Dallas. Thank you, Elwood. I appreciate that, man. We're about to go ahead and get up out of here, man. Read a few more. Clinton Kubiak is the key to every game. Sorry, I appreciate that comment, man. But I don't think our first or last name was right. But I get what you're saying. Tom Brokaw, the man. How we go from Tom Brokaw? Where'd that come from? Tom Brokaw. Where we get Tom Brokaw from? Like, man, yeah, dog. I mean, I got love and respect for Tom Brokaw too, but I'm like, where in the world did Tom Brokaw come from? How we go from talking about the Dallas Cowboys against the Saints and Chris Olave to Tom Brokaw? Like, you only could get this type of content and that type of switch and that type of transition on the State of the Saints podcast, where you can hear about Chris Olave and Tom Brokaw in the same place. Oh my goodness, man. I wouldn't say we can destroy anyone just because we scored 47 points versus Carolina, but with all honesty, I saw good things on that game, and I feel positive. Ain't nothing wrong with that, Mick. Ain't nothing wrong with that, my friend. You should feel positive. I'm not telling anybody not to feel positive after that performance. Good point, Chose. I don't even know what Chose say. What you say, Chose? I feel like Jamal Williams is a key because of the attention of AK, and I feel like Jamal needs to come in and keep pounding and not have to rely on AK as much. I agree, man. I mean, I think they really complement each other this year. I think that Jamal Williams compliments Alvin Kamara. And honestly, I'm excited to see what Kendrick Miller can do when he gets back. I know some people may have soured on him, but I like that kid's mind frame, man. And I think that when he comes back, he's going to have something to prove. And if you can get all three of these guys involved in the running game, man, it might be a tough outing for a lot of teams. We need to keep winning to get respect. We have this hurricane here in New Orleans. Yeah, I know, Rob. Be careful out there. And then we'll go ahead and end it with TJ. We got to get the Eagles game so I don't hear ish from these arrogant Philly fans up here and bandwagon Eagle family members back home. Well, look, Eugene, I think that that's going to be a tougher game for the New Orleans Saints, even this game. I mean, I could be wrong, but it just seems like that's not a really good matchup for the New Orleans Saints for things that I've seen in the past. But we focus on this Dallas Cowboys game, and we're going to be continuing talking about that throughout the week. To all the people out there in New Orleans and the Gulf Coast area, y'all be careful out there. Y'all be safe, man. Don't be out there in them streets. Let's just make sure that we just stay inside. Hopefully you got your gas, you got your canned goods, your potted meat, your Vienna sausage, and you're good. Let the storm go ahead and pass, and don't be trying to go outside. Let me trying to go out here. Let me roll to the store real quick, man. Chill out. Stay at home. Let that storm pass, man, and hopefully nothing serious happen. We want you all to be here to have shows for years to come. Shouts out to my guy, Mike, man. I'm going to be on the Philadelphia Eagles podcast next week. Y'all make sure y'all check it out. I want to say it's Broad Street, if I'm not mistaken. Am I right, Mike? Mike, if you're still listening, man, can you put the name of your podcast inside of the chat? I believe that's the name of it. I could be wrong, but I've been on there a couple of times. Mike is a great guy. They have a really good show. And it's not one of those Philadelphia Eagles shows, where, it's just wild and crazy. They have a really good perspective about their team. They're passionate about their team. And, but they talk about their team, in a level-headed way. And those are the type of podcasts I can get down with. Like, love your team, but, like, talk about your team in a way where, it kind of, like, makes sense. Like, oh, my team about to go undefeated every year. Like, come on, man. Come on. What are we doing, man? Let's see. TJ, we own the Eagles, buddy. We stay beating them. I don't know about that, man. Now, not Jalen Hurts Eagles. I mean, maybe Gardner Minshew Eagles, but not Jalen Hurts Eagles. Jalen Hurts, I want to say that was the first game he started in. That was the first game he started in. He went out there, man, and Saints didn't have no answer for that dude. And that's the biggest concern, man. Can the Saints solve the little problem that they have when it comes to running quarterbacks? Can he do that? That's what I want to know. Let's see. Y'all had Shanahan tree offense. This game will be tough. 38-17. Dallas. So we had a Shanahan tree offense. I don't know, man. I don't know if I don't know. 38 points on the Saints defense. I don't know, bro. I mean, 20, 24, maybe, 38. I don't know, man. That's going to be tough right there. I ain't going to sit up here just say the Saints. I feel like the Saints can win this football game. I do. I think even if they lose, it's going to be respectable. I think that it's going to be respectable. But I also feel like, a lot of people are underestimating this team, especially when the secondary, attitude era saying no Lattimore. Like, man, have y'all been watching Positional Debo? Now, I just think that sometimes, we fall in love with these narratives. Like, everybody's been told that Marshawn Lattimore is a lockdown, shutdown corner. And, Positional Debo, he kind of, was kind of up and down the first couple of years. But, man, Positional Debo is really good. Like, he's light years better than what he was when he first came into the league. And I don't think people give that man the respect that he deserves. I think that he's capable of covering a number one wide receiver on the team. So I get it, man. The narratives that we have, the cliff notes that we get if we're not like really into like certain teams, we don't really take into account the other guy that probably doesn't have the name and the cachet as another. Yeah, I kind of thought so. I kind of thought it was Broad Street. I kind of figured that. Yeah, I know I wasn't tripping. Broad Street. Yeah. Shouts out to Mike and Broad Street. Yeah, I know I wasn't tripping. Yeah, but I've been on there a couple of times. I think this may have been like just gonna be like my third time being on the show. I think it will be. And I'm looking forward to it. That's gonna be next week. I want to say it's on the 18th. I want to say we agreed to the 18th. And once I get more information about that, I'll make sure that I give it to you all so you all can come over and check that out. And also make sure that you subscribe to the NFC South Roundtable. That's available right now on YouTube every single Tuesday at 7 p.m. We also we do a pre-recording that comes out every Friday. So be on the lookout for that, where we give our predictions for each NFC South game. Make sure that y'all check that out as well. Make sure you follow me on X at TJAYJones8. Once again, this show is powered by BETUS. Sign up, get up to 150% on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. Use the promo code YouTube150. That's YouTube150. Also, special shout out to everybody in the chat. Shouts out to everybody that donated tonight. And I really do appreciate it. We'll be back later on this week to talk more New Orleans Saints versus Dallas Cowboys. Till next time, all I got to say is, who dat?
Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast.
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. There's all dog around this mug. I'm good.